Welcome to our time together on the Parsha. This Shabbos we'll be reading Parshas Truma. Parshas Truma begins the section of the Torah that the Ramban says should be at times a separate chumash by itself, because Teruma, Tetzava, Kisisa, Vayakel, and Pekudei deal with the setting up of the Mishkan. Nevertheless, it's included in Chumash Shmos to tell us that the purpose of the exodus of the Yetzias Mitzrayim was to get the Torah, and the purpose of to get the Torah was to establish a place for Hashem here on earth, and Parshas Truma begins the establishment of that place of God here on earth that the Jewish people are enjoined to establish. Of the Kalim that are, of the vessels in the Mishkan that are spoken about this Parsha, the most prominent and the first is the vessel known as the Aron, the Kli known as the Aron. The Aron, as we know, was really three boxes, a gold one on the outside, a wood one to fit on the inside, and a gold one on top of that, wherein the luchos were placed. On top of that was a covering with the kruvim, which we've discussed in past archived videos. I'd like to speak today about one unique point of the Aron. The pasuk says that Moshe was told to make badim. Badim are handles or staves, and that these staves, long poles, which went on the side of the Aron, would be used to carry the Aron. Their poles would be long, they would stick out on the two sides of the Aron, and with them the Aron would be carried. When describing the poles that are put into rings that are on the outside of the Aron, the pole was put through the rings, one on one side, one on the other side. It says, "Betabos ha'aron yihiyu habadim." In the rings of the Aron, the poles should be lo yasuru mimenu. They can never be taken out. In fact, the Rambam in Hilchos Klei HaMikdash at the end of Perik Beis actually quotes the Gemara in Yuma on Daf Ayin Beis, in which it says, if someone would take out the poles, they'd be chayiv malchus. They would be transgressing a positive command of them being in the Aron, and the negative command of lo yasuru mimenu, that they cannot be removed. So you cannot remove the poles from the Aron. The Gemara on that page in Tractate Yuma on 72a quotes and says from Rabbi Yossi ben Reb Chanina that even though it says you shouldn't take them out, they could be forced out. The poles were of a unique design. They were narrower in the middle and thicker at the end, so that they shouldn't easily come out. But if you really pulled or pushed, you really could take these poles out. And if you forced them out, you have transgressed a negative commandment, and the Sefer HaChinuch quotes it as Mitzvah 96. Now, it's interesting to note that Rav Shamshon Raphael Hirsch has a very beautiful explanation on the concept of these poles. Why was it that Hashem commanded us that the poles should never be removed? What was the point of that? What was he trying to teach? And so he explains as follows. The Aron had to be portable because the Jewish people were not going to stay forever in one place. The Mishkan was not the final resting place of the Aron, and even the Beis HaMikdash ultimately was not the final resting place of the Aron, because the Jewish people were exiled when the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed. The one thing that preserved them and went with them was the Aron, because the Torah, which was in the Aron, went with them. And by having the poles not being allowed to be taken out, what the Torah was telling us is this Aron, this Torah, must remain portable. You can take it with you wherever you want, and you can never take out the portability of this Torah. It goes wherever you go. Of course, unfortunately, you could force the poles out of the Aron. It's not going to leave you easily. A Jew cannot easily walk away from the Torah. You have to almost force it out. It could be done, but then the Torah is just waiting for the next Jew to put up new poles and carry it along with him, says Rav Hirsch. The Torah remains the portable life source of the Jewish people, and therefore the pasuk says, "B'tabos ha'aron yihiyu abadim lo yosuru mimenu." They can never be taken away. And isn't it amazing? No matter where we've been in this world, for the last 3,300 odd years, wherever we have gone, we've had our Torah with us. Our Torah is our lifeblood, our essence, and from the very beginning of the setting of the Mishkan, when the poles were put into the Aron, lo yosuru mimenu, they don't go away from it. You can't take them out easily, and they are to remain there forever because the Torah always remains with us no matter where we go. Have a wonderful Shabbos.